Hey everybody, it's your girl Coach Crystal. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. Listen, if you are just joining us, you're in for a treat, but also you're just in the right place for the evening. Sometimes we like to check in and check out of things because we think we know what we're going to get, but I promise you tonight, you have no idea the conversation that's about to unfold. So before we get any further, I just want to welcome you into our community the same way that we start all of our workshops, all of our sessions at Steps and Stages. And it's with our mantra that just says a lot of things happen before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but I promise to be here with you now. Please be here with me now. Now, speaking of now, y'all, it's almost April, and I don't want you to be no fool. You understand? So on April 1st, we are throwing Vision Camp Live in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you don't have your tickets to Vision Camp Live, I'm just wondering, like, what are you planning on doing on Saturday other than investing in yourself? I'm flying down tomorrow just to make sure everything is on par, and I want to see you in the room. I want you to give yourself one day of investing in yourself, and I will give you a blueprint to create and design a life you actually love living. Don't wait. Don't think about it. Just say yes to yourself. Some people are worried about the cost, but $47 is probably what you've been spending on Starbucks this week. So let's just go ahead and give it back to yourself, right? So that's my spiel. The link for the tickets will be below this video. Let's get into it. Tonight, I want to introduce you to someone who I am newly knowing in the realm of social media, in the realm of consulting, in the realm of people who want to make a difference in the world. Tonight, we're going to be able to talk to Robert H. Johnson Jr., affectionately known as Coach Rob, affectionately known as the Corporate Dropout. And tonight, we're going to drop in and drop out of some of the stories that we've been telling ourselves and figure out how to really align with the principles of a life we would really love. So without further ado, Coach Rob, welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. How are you?
I am phenomenal, Coach Crystal. I just am so excited to be here with you this evening. And listen, I am fully engaged. I love your intro and how you invite people to not only show up, but to be present, because those are definitely two different things. So I'm super excited to be here with you tonight.
I love it. I love it. Listen, we're in the room. We're in the moment. Tell us who you are at this moment.
So to some and many, I'm known as the corporate dropout. And by the way, that does not mean just go and quit your job. A corporate dropout is one who truly operates with an ownership mentality, whether I am working within the four walls of a corporate environment or I am running my own business, right? It means I think and operate like an owner. And so I've been a 20-year plus career athlete, someone who's made some stumbles along their career, long learned from those stumbles and leveraged those to help other leaders be successful and to not make some of those same mistakes. I am a DEI practitioner. I am a son. I am an uncle. I am a partner. I am a human being that is working to create a better existence for fellow human beings.
I love it. I love it, right? Because what you're already jumping into, Coach Rob, is that this is a journey. right? And we love to throw out these little things like, enjoy the journey, or, life is a marathon, not a sprint. We love to do these hashtags and these taglines, but we sometimes forget what that really means, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to run a marathon, you're training. Yeah.
Listen.
Right? You got to have some endurance, and you're not going to want to do it every day. So talk to us a little bit about your career trajectory and what that has done in terms of your training to be able to train others and how you see yourself going forward.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it makes me think about what a great friend and colleague said to me, Robert. He's said to me, his name is Perry. Perry said, Robert, man, you made a hard pivot into squarely into diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I had to really reflect and think back that it wasn't a hard pivot. It was actually a strategic and intentional journey and set of decisions that I made to get certain experiences. And so, from a career perspective, I've worked in every industry from manufacturing to financial services to tech,
Yeah.
right? And a few others sprinkled in between. And the one thing that I learned is that you have the beautiful opportunity to create an amazing career by not looking straight forward. You got to
Mm,
look to your left, you got to look to your right, but most people want to look straight or up and down. I don't want to go down, right? I want to just keep going up. But an
yeah.
amazing career and an amazing life is built when we actually take a pivot to the left or a pivot to the right and not know where that's going to take us, but know we're going to get an experience that's going to prepare us for our ultimate vision. And not to go too far, I just learned early on that saying yes to opportunities will take me farther than being afraid and saying no, I don't have the full experience. No, I don't know if I can do it. If
Right.
someone is proposed and presented an opportunity to you, that means they believe you can do it. So step into it
Right.
fully, but be
Right.
willing to learn maybe the things that you don't know, right?
Love it. I mean, just preaching to the choir over here, but I hope everybody out there is listening, right? Like, the expansion is in the experience.
Yes, yes. Say that again.
I feel like I've been saying it all week, Coach Rob. The expansion is in the experience. But when we hold ourselves back from the experience, we wonder why we're stuck. We wonder why we're unhappy. We wonder why the job no longer fits us, right? And this trajectory you're talking about really reminds me. I am a deep I guess I'm addicted to spiritual truths, right? Like it across the gamut, right? So the Tao Te Ching says, no matter whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I love that. So if you're gonna be shaky anyway, right? Just
right,
go for it. Go
right.
for it. I really appreciate that because that's one thing that's very true about me. And I take actually my faith goes before me. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell people there's some F words that are really important to me and not the four-letter word that you're thinking about,
Yeah.
but it is the five-letter word faith.
Mm-hmm.
My life is a testament to the benefits of taking leaps and jumps of faith,
Yeah.
right? When you think about it, we are, as they say, our ancestors' wildest dreams. We're our parents' wildest dreams, our
Yes.
grandparents' wildest dreams,
Yes.
our friends' wildest dreams. And if you look at life as though everything is a beautiful, amazing opportunity versus what could go wrong or did go wrong,
Yeah.
you will have more beautiful and amazing opportunities. So when I think about coaching people and developing people, the first thing and the hardest thing to convince someone to do is to believe in themselves.
Yes. Right. And it's so interesting because I was looking at something the other day where they were really breaking down the difference between belief and knowing. Right. Right. Believing takes a little more work than knowing, but once you know, it's a wrap.
It's done.
Right.
It's done.
But that,
But
that leap between believing and internalizing and knowing is huge.
it's huge and it leads to transformational results. It's
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
That leap that looks huge will lead you to transformational results. And
Right.
guess what? Not just your life, but a ripple effect in the lives of those that you are connected to. So your faith, your
Yes.
leap of faith they not only benefit you, they benefit everyone in your family and your friends and people, whether you believe it or not. And I'll give you a real prime example. I had a beautiful conversation with someone today who said, Robert, just listening to you, and I'm not saying this, these were her words, not mine.
Words, Robert. We don't apologize over here for our words.
Just listening to you reflects back the humanity that I want to believe in myself. Mm-hmm. Basically, she's saying she saw the potential in her because I believe in the potential in me and you. I have enough faith, Crystal, for you and me. Right. You don't have to have a parachute. I'm going to jump and both of us are going to land.
Okay. I love it. I tell my clients the same thing. You don't believe it? Believe in my belief.
Because I got enough for us.
I got enough, right? Because what we're understanding is that the transformation actually makes sense of everything else, right? Like people are looking at you like, oh, this is a hard pivot. You're like, no, actually, when I look at this, I made this decision and I said yes to this, yes to this, yes. And that's where I am right now. Like all of this is the intersection of all of my parts.
And listen, can we get an amen? We'll get some claps.
You need some sound effects in this podcast. I need some sound effects.
But you're so true. That's why it's so important to reflect back, not to look back and regret or look back and wishing what I could have done, but look back at what I did do. Look back at how far I have come so that I can know going forward the mistakes not to make again. And, oh, by the way, the things to keep doing that have brought me thus far.
Yes, because once we start analyzing our patterns, we know we know what we do. Right? The work is to do something different. We know, right?
Yes.
Because we've been getting the same result over and over. Now, how do we do something different to get a different result? But I find, Rob, and I'm going to say this, and people don't think I talk about this all the time. I'm going to say it as the vision coach. You can't imagine bigger. You can't get out of the pattern until you've seen a different trajectory. And it doesn't have to be the person in front of you doing what you think you want to. You just got to see it in here.
Coach Crystal, one of the things that we are kindred spirits, not just colleagues in the work that we do as coaches, because you and I both know that the only way to get from here to there is by having a clear vision.
Yes.
And so many people are unfortunately wandering aimlessly because they have not slowed down to seek vertical. One of the most important relationships is the vertical relationship.
Yeah.
And once you tap into that and you get yourself a great coach, because not everyone can do it on their own, right? And
nobody can. Nobody can. Right. Okay.
No, nobody can. But most people think Beyonce became Beyonce because she just has a great voice. Beyonce has had a voice coach. Beyonce has had a piano teacher. Beyonce has spent hours and hours and hours and weeks and days and months and years and cumulative time in the studio, learning how to produce, learning how to write. Her work ethic is bar none, but she has always had icons and coaches and instructors to help her become the person that we don't know, the machine that is truly behind the Serena Williams, the Beyoncés, the Michelle Obamas, you name great person here and know that there is a team, including a coach, including a mentor, including allies, including sponsors that have ushered that person to the place that we see as uber success.
Right. Because we get so focused on the product.
Yes.
Right. We're missing the process. And like you're saying, the decisions along the way are the process. And because you don't see the outcome right now, it doesn't mean that it's not coming, right? I think a lot of people these days get fatigued of the process, right? It's like you were talking about earlier, like your career trajectory is not a sprint. No. It wasn't, I made one decision and every door opened. No, you made several decisions, right? And Coach Rob, I say this all the time, and people may, if you're just tuning in, maybe you don't know this, but I was a professional dancer for 20 years. Doors don't just open for a dark-skinned 5'3", 160-pound person with a big butt trying to be a professional dancer. It doesn't happen like that, right? You got to be in the right space. You got to be ready for the work, and you got to show up and show out every moment of the day.
But the first step, Coach Crystal, is that you believed that this was what you were called to do, right? You
You know,
can't win. You
when I
can't.
didn't, but even when
Even
I
when
showed up.
you showed up, you showed up. But guess what? When we have those moments of self-doubt, whether you call it imposter syndrome or self-doubt or fear, I firmly have seen and believe that someone will come and tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I saw you doing this, and I just want to let you know it inspired me."
Yeah.
Or what happened to, aren't you dancing? Aren't you, whatever the thing you're called to do in life, God will send people to guide you, to support you, to cheerlead you, and oh, by the way, to coach you to greatness.
Yes. Right. You know, what struck me before when you were talking, Coach Rob, is that, you know, nobody changes alone because no one gets to where they are alone. Like, even if you want to look at all the quote unquote bad things of your past, you didn't do them by yourself.
That's right.
You didn't wire yourself to make those choices. Right. So when we think about this, the support that we need is often so alienating because we're in the mythology that alpha females and alpha males, they don't run in packs, we do it all. And I'm like, if I hear that one more time as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, I don't want to hear it. Right? Because what we miss, right, is that there is a role and a responsibility that everybody has, whether you're in a group or whether you're by yourself. But if you're choosing to isolate yourself, you're choosing to create the path while walking rather than be able to see, like you're saying, across to the right and the left, multiple trajectories, and then choose where your gifts will take you.
Yeah, but, listen, you're saying so much. Like there's a billion dollars worth of truth that you just shared. It just traces back to, and I want to introduce a concept that is not talked about a lot, but I've experienced it, and I'm sure you have, but we call it different things. I choose to call it generational exhaustion.
Mm.
Generational exhaustion. There are so many people who are tired because their parents were tired, or their grandparents were tired, or their great grandparents were tired through real or perceived circumstances. And so, because I'm tired, I don't feel or have the energy to put forth the left and right. I just only have the time to look forward. And I
I
want
just
to
run
encourage people.
the hoe.
I got one, but the reality is, you get the privilege of breaking that cycle of generational exhaustion by doing one thing different. You only have to do one thing different than your father, than
Mm-hmm.
your mother, than
Mm-hmm.
your sister, than your brother. And you can create a whole new generational cycle of being an athlete in whatever your field is. Athlete is not just track and field,
No.
right? Corporate athlete, entrepreneurial athletes, entertainment, right? Athletes. It just means you have built the endurance. You've chosen to go one step further. You've chosen to make it a marathon and not a sprint. You've chosen to get off the hamster wheel and say, wait, there's more than this cycle, but I got to get off of it to see the wheel is spinning. And guess what? The wheel will still spin once you get off of it.
You could be dead and the wheel will keep spinning.
The wheel will still spin. So make the choice to reinvent the wheel. It's not that you're going to make it a square wheel. No, there are no necessarily square wheels, but there are hundreds of different types of wheels because someone thought this could be better.
Mm-hmm.
Someone thought I might be tired, but I need to push a little bit further and add a different tread, right? And that's why we have low profile tires and we have 3-foot, 6-foot tires.
You're right.
That go on these huge machines.
Yeah.
So
because everybody's terrain is different. Like you can't. That's just not what we're doing. But it strikes me so clearly, Coach Rob, that when you're talking about this kind of athlete, it's someone who trusts the training.
Because an athlete who doesn't trust the training will never become great because they're subject to their own definition of great, whereas a trainer or a coach, aka, has worked and or built other greats. Like people would love to work with Serena Williams as coach, right? Okay. Just to talk to him. just to say, well, how did you do it?
Right.
People would love to work with a pick or name your icon. Let's give you an example,
Yeah.
like Mark Cuban. I love Mark Cuban.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had the privilege of meeting Mark Cuban, and what I will say, and I'll make a post of this one day, is he's one of the one of the only and most successful CEOs that I've ever met that has just as much of an IQ as he does EQ.
Okay.
And that is rare because I've been privileged to meet several billionaire CEOs who
Yeah.
were so smart that they were not people smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he really you know how sometimes you don't want to meet your icons because they sometimes aren't who you think they are.
You don't want to be disappointed.
You don't want to be disappointed. But if you ever get the chance to meet Mark Cuban, just know that you will not be disappointed. He is who he is. Shark Tank, Mavericks, CEO. But what I love about him is he is a great example of an athlete. He found an opportunity. He believed in it. He would not relent. He surrounded himself with the right people to innovate this product and to innovate this platform so that, right, bought something bigger, did something different. But it was all risk. He could have lost all of his money on any of those ventures, right? So we sometimes fear investing $500, $47 in a coaching workshop. And by the way, Coach Crystal, I'm going to sponsor someone. So if there's anyone listening that's going to be in the vicinity and would like to attend, I am going to sponsor because you need to be in the room. And there is only one. It's not for everyone. We're just being honest. It's not for everyone, but it is for someone, right? So I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing because you are empowering, equipping, enabling, inspiring, encouraging, and setting people up for success in ways that most don't have access to. So I want to give you your flowers because you're creating that.
Thank you. And to free people from the fatality of this generational fatigue you're talking about.
Yes, yes. And again,
it's fatal.
Fatigue is absolutely fatal. And the reality is generational fatigue, and you can call it generational fatigue, generational exhaustion, generational trauma, it shows up with you at work.
Yes.
There are so many people, you, myself, people in senior leadership positions that are showing up at work that are unaware that their past trauma is the reason why they are unapproachable at work. It's the reason why they don't know how to have a one-on-one coaching conversation with their team because they're holding on to something that happened to them when they were 8, 12, 13, 15, 17, 21, right?
Yeah.
But until we address this exhaustion, fatigue, trauma, we are holding on to a version of ourselves that will never get us to be the greatest of the great.
No. And the place matters. Here's the thing. We're conditioned to seek the place before we are conditioned to transform our inner space, right? So you could be in a C-suite with a sharecropper mentality.
Listen, say that again.
Right. You got a C-suite position and you got a sharecropper mentality, which means you think that your place in this company is conditional, right? Rather than earned, and it could go away at any moment, right? Because you don't own it. You're not owning it from the inside.
Yes. Success, growth is an inside job. Before you see growth is an inside job. Before you see me lose the 20 pounds, you're going to see me eating healthy. You're going to see me making decisions that cooperate and are in alignment with my vision of being healthier. So if I want to be a better leader, I have to do the self-reflection work, which is, oh, by the way, one of the ways that I do that with my clients and people that I work with, the TACT leadership model, is that it starts with inside. Do I trust myself? And if I don't trust myself, can others trust me?
No.
Do I take accountability for my actions? Because if I don't, why would others feel as though I have the right to hold them accountable?
Correct.
How do I communicate? What words do I choose? Do I inspire or do I shut down? Do I uplift or do I unnerve? Right? And then what do? Do I walk the talk? Am I all talk but no action behind the other things? And so the trauma will have you in a position with without knowing the purpose.
Yeah.
And the purpose, last thing, then back to you.
No, go
The
ahead.
purpose for leadership position is people. You are called to that position of leadership to build people, to
Yeah.
uplift, not to manage the output. But your beautiful privilege as a leader is to influence the input, the words of encouragement, the listening, the strong relationship, the coaching, the development, right? My job as your leader is to be your biggest brand ambassador,
Yeah. Right.
not
Because
to feel intimidated by
good
you.
leaders make better leaders.
Yes.
Right. It's a proliferation. Listen, I just want the only reason I leaned forward, Coach Rob, because I feel like, I don't know who's out there watching or why, but we having church in here. Okay. Number two, here's what just made me lean forward, right? Is that you're talking about actions and words and leadership and like what real leadership is, right? But you're saying also growth is an inside job. So you got to be able to lead yourself. But we've been leading ourselves to this version of success that is itself steeped in trauma.
You are on a roll tonight.
The definition itself, the vision of success that we're fed, right? From the time you're supposed to get into the good high school or get into the good college, is a traumatic experiential success metric. It's like, how much trauma can you endure until I tell you you're successful?
Spot on. We have fallen for the fallacy that success is one-dimensional.
Right.
Success is multifaceted as you are, as I am, as someone from who is right now on the other side of the world preparing to start their day is. Success is a personal, this is why vision is necessary, because when you have vision, your vision, it gives you the picture of what your individual life success looks like.
Right.
But you gotta have clear vision, Coach Crystal.
Have to.
Most people have great sight, but foggy vision.
Go.
No vision.
Let's go a step deeper. Great sight, wonderful aspiration.
Yes.
Right? Sight and aspiration do not equal vision.
By the way, here's the other thing. A goal is not a vision.
Stop.
Right?
Stop. I'm gonna shut this thing down. Stop it. No.
Coach Crystal.
We're finna make some people mad. Of course it's not. I can't say the word. We don't even use it over here. Don't you tell me about no goals. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, let's trigger people a little bit more.
Okay.
I put a post out early the end of last year, and I'd love your perspective because this is just mine.
Yeah.
A vision board is not a vision.
It is not. Thank you.
It is.
Can you say it again, Coach Rob? Because when I say it, people think I'm just branding. I'm not branding. It's real. No. It's not.
A vision board is not a vision. A vision board is a set of goals and aspirations that you'd like to achieve on your path or journey. A vision, let me tell you what a vision is. My vision, Crystal, is to create such equitable, inclusive workspaces for any and everyone to not only survive, but thrive, but do that by equipping leaders with the tools they need, right, to be that leader, to create the environment. And guess what? Your vision, I created a framework for vision. And would you like me to share it?
Please go for it.
So there is a time in life when bias is important, and it is your vision.
Because it's connected to discernment, but go ahead.
Yes. So listen, I created this framework for vision called BIASED, BIASED. Your vision in life has to be biased. It should be bold. It should be inspirational. It should be aspirational. It should be specific. It should be exciting. And it should demand something more from you. So your vision has to be biased. Me saying that I want to go get some dinner is a goal, right? Let's just say, that's a goal.
Yeah.
But me saying something like, I want to I want to affect change for people around the world, leveraging my gifts, my talents, and my abilities that God has given me, right? How am I going to do that? God is going to give me clarity. This is where my faith just it's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Once you see who you are, God will give you clarity on the how, which is your mission, vision.
Coach Rob, pause. Because we got some people who watch every week. I didn't tell him to say that. Y'all know we don't do how over here. We only do what. Get clear on the what. The how will make it simple. Go ahead, Coach Rob. I mean, go ahead.
But listen, this is why we did not prep hours for this call. You did not tell me what you were going to ask or give me any lead in. But that's how you know you're in the right place at the right time with the right person, other people, is that we're aligned. And so for everyone or anyone out there that's watching that says, I don't know my purpose, once you get clear on your vision, your purpose will become clear, right? Because purpose is really how you do what God has called you to do, right?
Equipped you with already.
With what's inside.
Yes.
And not for some,
another degree or a certification.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on the fact that there are people with 7 degrees. God bless them. But I unfortunately believe that sometimes it's easier to go, not easy in terms of time commitment, but I think we can be so afraid of actually doing the thing that we invest in being credible to do the thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, because we are wired to love learning because we're evolutionary creatures, right? But when we don't implement the learning,
it's such a waste. It's such a waste. So God bless, and I'm so proud of anyone that graduates from high school, that decides to go to college, that decides to get an advanced degree, that decides to get a certificate. I have several certificates, and here's the secret to deciding when and how, and if you're on the right path with your certificate. Mm-hmm. If it aligns with where you are or where you're going.
Yeah.
But getting a certificate for the sake of getting a certificate so someone will feel that you are valuable enough. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation of you're valuable just because of who you are.
Right.
You have to convey that value.
Right. You have to, right? But it goes back to you have to believe it. Know it. And when you know it, you can implement it.
And the thing about knowing that's different than believing, listen, my perspective, the difference between believing and knowing and doing, great example. When you wake up in the morning in your house, mm-hmm. you know because you have paid the light bill that light is going to switch on.
Yeah.
You know when you turn on the water because you paid the water bill, mm-hmm. right? The water's going to come out. You know the toothpaste is going to come out of the tube because you just bought, right? Some more toothpaste.
Right.
The beauty, though, about faith and belief is that belief operates the same way. You're just trusting God with how the what is going to happen.
But Rob, you got to trust the training, though. We just saw it. But if you don't trust the training, right? Like you trust the electrician or you trust the mortgage company or you trust Crest or whoever, you got to trust the training.
You do. And I was just talking to someone earlier about a friend of mine, a friend who's very smart and brilliant, but they don't trust the training. Because here's a way to demonstrate if you trust the training. Mm-hmm. I am afraid of people, I literally mean this, who don't ask for feedback. Who don't ask from your experience. Because Coach Crystal has an experience. Coach Rob has an experience. Coach Lisa, Coach John, Coach Lawrence, they all have everybody. But if you don't ask people for feedback or for mentorship or advisory or support, you're saying me, myself, and I. But guess what? You're limiting yourself to exactly where you are.
Yes. I was just talking about this today, Coach Rob. I said, there are 2 dangerous statements. I know that, and I don't do that. Right? And when we're talking about generational trauma, we got a lot of, I don't do that. We don't do that. Who don't do that? Speak for yourself.
Now you're getting into this whole collective mindset, right? It's Only they do that. Oh, that's them.
Right, because it's easier to think as we or they do rather than to think like me.
I,
How? I'm right. How do I mean? If I've just been listening to them all along, I guess they're right until I got to do some work to figure out what I actually sound like. That voice in the back of my head that's been telling me shoulda, woulda, coulda. Oh, that's not even me. That's my grandma. Oh, that wasn't even me. I didn't even think like that.
but generational trauma, generational exhaustion, generational fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
My father had to work 12 hours a day. So I guess I got to find a job to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? My
Right.
mother had to do this, and so I have to do that.
Yeah.
These mindsets are showing up every single day in our personal and professional interactions unless we decide to make a shift and have a conversation and ask for help or be
Better question.
ask a better question. Oh, by the way, I want to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is at an all-time low, in my opinion, in our existence. I mean, what are your thoughts? I just think people are afraid to not have the answer.
Okay.
Right? They're
Yes, right. Also, I believe vulnerability is my superpower. I can stand in discomfort with people, with myself, and maybe it has something to do with my training, right? When you are trained as a dancer, I mean, artists in general, whatever, but as a dancer specifically, I do not play an instrument that I can put away.
That's right.
Nothing about what I'm doing ever goes away. So if I've been standing in a studio and someone's been telling me, that's not quite right, move over here, it looks like different, then I got to take all that with me. And that critique, if I'm not careful, will erode every bit of confidence that I've built. Right? So that vulnerability to stand in that place as someone who trusts the training and receive from someone who, as you're talking about before, may not be the type of leader who can deliver that in a way that I can hear it, but I got to have a translation mechanism for myself to keep me whole, right? So when we're talking about that, like vulnerability is the superpower that keeps us open to the training, but allows us to align with the bigger picture.
And everything you said plus 1,000. Yeah. And when we're vulnerable, our vertical becomes clearer, but our horizontal becomes more aligned. Yeah. When we are vulnerable to say, I don't know, when we're vulnerable to seek wisdom, right? When we're vulnerable to say, I've made this mistake myself, we attract a broader horizontal. More people are drawn to you through your humility, and it leads to trust.
Yeah. And one thing that you brought, sorry, I got on a tangent, but your original question, like, where is it in the world? Yeah. I think it's lacking, Coach Rob, because, and this is, I literally have been saying this since I was in undergrad, right? Because the publicity of pain is so rampant that we don't know who's being vulnerable and who's being a voyeur and who's manufacturing discomfort, right? Just so they can aggregate people around something that may not be real.
Wait. You're going to have to restate that because that was so complex and simple at the same time.
Here's the deal. We live in a society where people will throw money at other people's pain, where people want to be in the room with someone who has overcome their pain, but it doesn't mean that those people are being vulnerable.
Yes.
It means that they're throwing this publicity of pain kind of out in the ether or out in the pond, right? With this bait on it that says, oh yeah, I got pain too. We all have pain.
Yes.
Right?
We all
have pain. We all have pain. Different forms, different trajectories, came from different sources. We all have pain.
And here, let's be very, very clear. I love that you say that. All of us, black, white, brown, yellow, young, old, whatever your identity is, we all have experienced pain and or trauma. Back to you.
No, but the publicity of it is what I think erodes the vulnerability. Yeah. Because now, not only are we saying, okay, we all have pain, we're saying whose pain is real.
And whose pain is greater.
Right.
Who do I empathize with or sympathize with more? Is it the loudest voice,
Mhm.
or is it, the quietest voice?
Yeah.
Like, social media, love it for all of its potential.
Right.
I dislike it for exactly the reasons you're saying. People they are performative with
Yes.
their pain.
Yes. And as a performer, right? As a performer,
You can see it.
I can see it. And it's one of the reasons, like, people are always like, oh, Crystal, tell people the story about you're this or you're that. And I go, you're a client. And that's why you know that story. We're not going to throw that story out into the ether for someone to say, oh my God, I want her to be my coach because I connect with her pain. I don't want you to connect with my pain. I want you to see how we both can grow together, connect to my joy, and then we can build a ladder to whatever we love.
Yes, the coaching client relationship is actually a partnership.
Yeah,
It is not I'm here, you're there.
not
It
at
is
all.
we're meeting each other at where we needed to meet each other to grow. Because as I am coaching you, guess what? I have to be a little bit faster. I
Yeah,
have to show you how to run the sprint. I
right,
have to practice my sprints,
right,
right? To
right,
show you how to communicate effectively, I
right.
have to be continuously improving my
Yes.
communication skills. So I am a student. We are students as much as we are teachers.
You have to be. I tell my clients all the time. I tell my clients, potential clients, people who ask me about coaching, if you're in a room with a coach who doesn't have a coach, you better get a new room. Because it's like being in a pond. When water does not move in a pond, things die. So you don't need to be in something that is stagnant.
That's
Right?
right.
Don't be in a room where someone's not growing or can't be transparent about where they're still growing, the dark places that they're falling in love with, right? All the
Yeah.
things that make us whole, all the things that keep us from holding up that wall of shame and not being vulnerable to open up and let the floodgate of transformation and grace come through.
Because the grace. And here's you said one of my favorite words, grace.
Because we
Both great. Go ahead.
because we need it. No,
Yeah, and we do. And guess what? Before transformation happens, grace happens in several spaces. It's not just in one compartment of the journey.
correct.
You have to give yourself grace to acknowledge that maybe I didn't make the best decisions. Maybe I could have did something differently. Maybe I whatever the thing is for you, but you also have to say that because of grace, whatever happened was meant to happen to make me better. That mistake that I feel like that was the worst thing I could have ever done.
Right.
But that thing happened to help you recognize your humanity, or to
Yeah.
help you recognize I would never do that again, or to help you teach someone to not ever do that thing again.
Yeah.
So our going back to the trauma, when we're willing to give ourselves grace and acknowledge that we all have had and will have pain and trauma. Life is just painful and traumatic, but life is also beautiful, and there's so many blessings. But I have to choose to see both. Right? I
Yeah.
can't ignore my trauma,
No,
nor
no.
can I ignore my blessings. But I can work on the trauma and embrace the blessings. Work
Yes.
on my trauma and embrace the blessings.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
that's what life is. It's just that cycle.
It's
Right?
and the continual awareness to see where the next growth area is, right?
For
Without
me,
for yes, right. Not the mandated success ladder, but like where is it for me, right?
yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, Coach Rob, I feel like we could be here all night. I mean, maybe we should have sold tickets for this because this is truly send the offer and play it around. I want you, if you just tuned in, I want everybody here to hear that Coach Rob is going to sponsor someone to come to Vision Camp Live. I want you to drop your email or whatever you want underneath this video on whatever platform you're watching on, and we will get in contact with you to make sure that you get that ticket. We're talking about dropping in and dropping out tonight, but mostly we're talking about the training that it takes to trust your innate intuition, to do the work of who you are, to become more of who you are daily through failure, feedback, grace, but mostly persistence, right? Like showing up. Coach Rob, there's some people in the chat that they said you're preaching tonight, so thank you. The other thing that we're going to do real quick, just because we want to hold you here all night, is that we have a question that we ask each season.
Yeah.
Last season, we talked about Pico Eiler quote about your willingness to surrender. And
Mhm.
this year, this season, we're talking about a Don DeLillo quote that says, "The family is the cradle of the world's misinformation."
Oh, wow.
So we're
Wow.
asking our guests, right? We're asking our guests to just tell us one little story, one little nugget about how the cradle that you were born into misinformed you through what you had to grow out of.
Ooh, that is such a deep, profound question, and it is one that is relevant to all of us. It's almost the opposite, or it's similar to the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world,
Mm,
because it is so true. And I'll share with you one truth that I had to learn, unlearn,
mm,
unlearn.
uh-huh.
So I grew up in a family where, we were not socioeconomically advantaged, right? And so you got paid on Friday, and then the bills were paid. The bank account is empty. There was not even a bank account. The
Right.
money was gone on Saturday, right? Um, but I'm so grateful for how I grew up, and so bringing that kind of full circle, what I'm saying is I had to unlearn and learn a new relationship with finances. I had to unlearn the bad behaviors around money, right? I had to develop a relationship with money for myself because, oh, by the way, money is truly relational. How
Mhm.
you respect it, it will respect you.
Right.
What you're willing to sacrifice it for will yield you a harvest, or yield you a zero return, right? And so for me, I had to unlearn that life was meant to be lived on the margins. Life is not meant to be lived on the edge. Life is meant to be lived within the edge, outside of the struggle and surviving. My faith, the best gift my mother could have introduced me to was faith, and it wasn't through Bible beating.
Mhm.
It was through real examples of faith and action. And if you ever want to see faith in action, look at moms, mamas, madres, abuelas, your grandmothers,
Mhm.
and fathers. But
Yeah.
I just have to say that women are the biggest and most amazing example of sacrifice and faith. But I had to unlearn that, wait a minute, I don't have to get paid on Friday and be broke on Saturday or Sunday.
No.
As a matter of fact, that is not the life God called for me, right? There is an abundant life. Jeremiah 29:11 speaks to the fact that God has a plan for us, not a plan to harm us or hurt us, but a plan that is good
Yeah.
and is about a future. And so once I learned that, I was then and now able to teach others how to improve that relationship and transform your generational cycle of financial illiteracy.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that
Yeah,
I had to
I
unlearn.
love it. I love it, Coach Rob, because it goes back to everything we've talked about tonight: the generational trauma, the ideas of success, of creating a vision for yourself that is about your value and values, and not allowing this larger narrative to just get you swept up on the hamster wheel or in what my spirit animal Oprah calls the swirl. You don't want to get caught up in this world. So listen, I am just elated. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Y'all, if you're just joining us, you were in for a treat. I hope you watch the replay of this. Send this to a friend because this was amazing. Thank you, Coach Rob. We will continue to share this message, and we'll have you back. I hope you'll come back.
Thank you, Coach Crystal. I'm excited to be here. Wonderful conversation, and I've grown as a result of being in your presence and having this dialogue. Thank you, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much. Let me just make a couple announcements. Listen, y'all, if you just felt like you got a word or, a pathway, an alignment, a realignment for your day, then you do not want to miss Vision Camp Live. There is a link below this video. Coach Rob has been our gracious guest, and it says that he's going to sponsor someone. So if you're ready, you're going to be in the Charlotte area on April 1st. Don't be a fool. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Give yourself one day, and I promise to give you a blueprint that will change your life based on the vision of your life and your success that you want to live. Don't miss it. Don't let the opportunity pass you by. And we will see you back here next Wednesday for Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm Coach Crystal. It's a pleasure. We'll see you soon.